Is Lewis Hamilton regretting his switch to Ferrari as Mercedes is rapidly improving? Daniel's seat is in danger with Red Bull backing Liam for the second seat, and Mercedes is finally ready to challenge rivals. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Andrew Shovlin has lifted the lid on why Mercedes W15's ongoing upgrade plan will remain top secret, with the team working flat out to bring more performance to their F1 2024 car. Following an underwhelming start to the season, Mercedes have shown an impressive rate of improvement with the W15 over recent races. After George Russell claimed both the team's first pole position and podium of F1 2024 in Canada, teammate Lewis Hamilton equaled Russell's result in Montreal by finishing third, albeit almost 18 seconds adrift of the race-winning Red Bull of Max Verstappen at last weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. A series of upgrades has been cited as the reason for Mercedes' step forward, with Hamilton telling media, including PlanetF1.com in Barcelona, that the team are now focusing on making consistent, incremental steps rather than bringing big chunks here and there. The seven-time world champion went on to claim the W15 is getting more and more enjoyable to drive and feels more and more like a race car, with Hamilton hoping further upgrades over the next few races will put Mercedes properly in range of Red Bull and McLaren. Appearing on Mercedes' post-Spanish GP race debrief show, trackside engineering director Shovlin confirmed the team's emphasis on small developments with more stuff coming over the coming weeks. Yet he stopped short of revealing exactly when Mercedes are hoping to bring upgrades, with the team hoping to prevent their rivals from reacting. He said, "We've got a plan to bring more performance to the car, and it's some of the areas that we've been working on recently. Just aerodynamic development, mechanical developments, and those are coming through in the next few races. We don't really want to give our competitors an idea of when we're bringing an update, because then they'll be pushing to try and bring one sooner. But certainly we've got more stuff coming. We can see that gap getting down, and as it gets smaller, it's motivating people even more to push to bring small developments. And qualifying has been so tight recently, just bringing a few hundredths of a second to a car can see you further up the grid. That gives you an opportunity to finish in better places. So we are flat out. I won't tell you quite what the development plans over the next few races are." Shovlin also said that Mercedes want more after 2 consecutive podiums, and he believes the third sprint weekend of F1 2024 in Austria this weekend, where teams have limited practice time, will act as a good barometer of how much easier the W15 is to set up at this stage of the season. He explained, "Great to see both drivers on the podium in the last 2 events. That's a sign of the progress that we've made with all the hard work back at the factory. But we want more. We want to do better than third places. So we're working hard, but we've got plans and we've got parts coming, and hopefully that will all come to fruition." In terms of Austria, it's a tricky circuit and it's a sprint race. So with a sprint race, you've got 1 hour to get the car sorted out and set up. Now, with the recent changes we've made to the car, it's an easier thing to work with. The drivers have been much happier with the start setups. We've had to make less changes, so hopefully that will put us in a good place to start the weekend. You've then got 2 sets of qualifying, 2 separate races, so there's plenty to contend with. And then in Austria, you always get the question of the weather. Sometimes it's really hot, sometimes it's wet, so there's plenty to think about. But the drivers, the team, they're all enjoying racing the car that we've got now. We're fighting for the bigger points and we're excited to get going in Austria. Helmut Marko has dropped a hint that Daniel Ricciardo could be dropped by RB, claiming the team will have to promote Liam Lawson to an F1 race seat soon on the command of Red Bull shareholders. Ricciardo has largely struggled since returning to F1 with RB, formerly AlphaTauri, in F1 2023, registering just 2 points finishes in 17 appearances since his comeback at last year's Hungarian Grand Prix. The Australian suffered a broken hand in a practice crash at Zandvoort in just his 3rd race back, opening the door for Red Bull reserve driver Lawson to compete in 5 races. Despite impressing in Ricciardo's absence and claiming the team's best result of that stage of 2023 in Singapore, Lawson was denied a promotion to a full-time seat for F1 2024 as the team opted to retain Ricciardo along with Yuki Tsunoda. Marko revealed earlier this year that a clause contained in Lawson's contract will allow him to walk away from Red Bull entirely if he is not promoted to a permanent seat for F1 2025. with RB announcing at the Canadian Grand Prix earlier this month that Tsunoda will remain with the team for next season. Lawson's hopes of racing for the Faenza-based outfit hinges on the future of Ricciardo, 34, whose own hopes of returning to Red Bull Racing ended after the team announced a new 2-year contract for Sergio Perez. According to Austrian publication Kleine Zeitung ahead of Red Bull's home race in Austria this weekend, Marko has revealed that the energy drink's shareholders are keen to see RB return to its roots as a team to train young drivers, having produced the likes of Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel in its previous Toro Rosso guise. And that, he says, means RB will have to turn to Lawson in the near future. He said, "The shareholders have made it clear that it is a junior team and we have to act accordingly." The goal was that Ricciardo would be considered for Red Bull Racing with exceptional performances. That seat now belongs to Sergio Perez, so that plan is no longer valid. "We will have to put a young driver in there soon. That would be Liam Lawson." At the recent Canadian Grand Prix, Ricciardo, who has claimed just 1 points finish this season, in addition to a 4th-place finish in the Miami sprint race, insisted that he is refusing to give up on his dream of a return to Red Bull's senior team, despite the news that Perez will remain with the Milton Keynes-based outfit until the end of F1 2026. He told reporters in Montreal, "I don't think it means anything like that's it in terms of my prospects. I don't see it as, oh, maybe I won't get a chance. Personally, I've had one amazing result in Miami, but the rest of my season has been not really what I expect out of myself. I want my season to go better than it is to really help with any opportunities like that. I'm also realistic. I feel like I still want it to be progressing quicker, but I do think we are taking steps and I still believe I can turn it around, just do better moving forward and just kick some butt. And obviously, if I'm here next year, then that'll also make me happy." Asked if his focus now is on retaining his RB seat for F1 2025, he said, "Definitely. That was already where my head was at because I knew Miami was good, but I haven't really done enough to really raise hairs. I'm just trying to do that more, and that's it." To be honest, the mindset hasn't changed. We're not halfway through the season yet, but we're fairly into it now, and I've had one result which I was really happy with, and then others which I've been maybe less so. I just probably hold myself accountable for not doing anything too spectacular. And when you're obviously trying to fight for a top seat, you need to be doing some pretty awesome things. I think that's why I say I don't think it means it will never happen. It's still a place I'd love to finish my career. Lewis Hamilton has insisted that he has had no second thoughts over his move to Ferrari for the F1 2025 season, despite Mercedes' recent resurgence with the improving W15 car. Hamilton announced in February that he will join Ferrari on a multi-year contract next year, ending his long and successful association with Mercedes. The British driver won 6 of his joint record 7 world championships with Mercedes following his arrival from McLaren in 2013, as well as becoming the first man in history to surpass 100 pole positions and Grand Prix victories, with the German manufacturer powering each of his 342 F1 starts to date. Despite aiming to finish his Mercedes career with a flourish, Hamilton endured his worst ever start to a season in F1 2024, finishing no higher than 7th across the first 5 races. With Mercedes introducing a number of upgrades to the W15, however, the team's form has improved over recent weeks, with Hamilton claiming his first podium of F1 2024 at last weekend's Spanish Grand Prix, ending a run of 13 races without a top 3 finish. Meanwhile, Ferrari have faded after victories in Australia and Monaco for Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, respectively, with the red cars finishing behind Hamilton and teammate George Russell in Barcelona. Despite Ferrari's muted Spanish GP performance, which came after a double DNF in Canada, Hamilton is adamant that he has no regrets over his F1 2025 switch, with the Scuderia doing a great job and definitely progressing regardless of recent results. Asked if he is having second thoughts over his decision, Hamilton told media including PlanetF1.com, "No, not at all. Firstly, I love Mercedes. I've been with Mercedes since I was 13, and I'll always be a fan and supporter of Mercedes. And my job this year, right now, is to work as hard as I can with the crew that I have, with the people back at the factory, to try and move and develop the car in the right direction. And so ultimately, whatever course and trajectory the team is on for next year, for example, there are things that I've hopefully been a part of and be proud of being a part of. My job will start next year at the other team, who I think are doing a great job. I think they've had a couple of difficult races, but let's not forget they had a race win in Monaco. I can't tell you what is wrong with their car and why they are in the position they're in today, but they did bring an upgrade here, and I think they are definitely progressing. But it doesn't make me second-guess my decision at all. Hamilton's latest comments come after he claimed at April's Chinese Grand Prix that his decision to leave Mercedes doesn't need vindicating, saying he has not once questioned his move to Ferrari. He told reporters in Shanghai, "I don't feel like I need my decision vindicating. I know what was right for me, and that hasn't changed since the moment that I made the decision. There's not been a moment where I questioned it, and I'm not swayed by other people's comments. Even today, there's people continuing to talk Sauschrit, and it will continue on for the rest of the year. And I'll have to just do what I did the previous time I moved teams. Only you can know what's right for you, and it will be an exciting time for me." Earlier this month, Hamilton dismissed the suggestion that he will push for Ferrari to adopt an all-black livery for their F1 2025 car after Mercedes switched to, and retained, a dark color scheme in support of the driver's anti-racism campaigning. Hamilton commented that he won't be pushing for that too early on at Ferrari, with the 39-year-old's impact work alongside President John Elkann more likely to manifest itself off-track at Maranello. He told media, "I haven't driven a black car for a while, so I probably won't be pushing for that too early on. But no, we've definitely spoken about impact work and John and the T." Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko believes Max Verstappen has the ability to drive practically faultlessly, something his main rival for the F1 2024 title, Lando Norris, can't do yet. Verstappen collected his 7th victory of the F1 2024 season at last weekend's Spanish Grand Prix, overcoming Norris to win by just 2 seconds. Helmut Marko highlights crucial difference between Max Verstappen, Lando Norris. Norris cut a frustrated figure after the race, with the McLaren driver left to rue a poor start from pole position, which saw him drop to 3rd, behind Verstappen and early leader George Russell at the first corner. Norris's latest defeat to Verstappen comes after he was forced to settle for 2nd at the previous race in Canada, where he and McLaren missed the opportune moment to pit under the safety car, having at one stage established a healthy 8-second lead. The British driver also fell agonizingly short at last month's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, where Verstappen held off a late charge by Norris to win by 0.725 seconds. Despite his latest near miss, Norris's 5th podium in 6 races saw him move ahead of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc into 2nd in the drivers' standings, albeit with a 69-point deficit to Verstappen, ahead of this weekend's Austrian Grand Prix. Writing in his Speed Week column, Marko claimed Verstappen once again made the difference for Red Bull in Barcelona, driving without error in a way Norris, who registered his maiden F1 victory at the 110th time of asking in Miami last month, cannot yet do. Marko said, "Max drives practically faultlessly. Thank God Lando can't do that yet, but he remains our main rival. In Spain, Verstappen didn't have the fastest car and he didn't start from pole position, but he still managed to take the win thanks to an incredible overtaking maneuver on George Russell on the 3rd lap. It allowed him to take the lead, and he proved once again how good his instincts are and how well he can read the race. That was the foundation for the win. Max once again made the difference. He took the win with a car that wasn't the fastest. I think if Lando had stayed in front at the start, we wouldn't have won the race, but the start dropped him back to 3rd position behind Russell and Max." Norris defended aggressively against Verstappen off the line in Barcelona, edging the Red Bull onto the grass on the charge towards Turn 1 before Russell swooped around the outside of both to take the lead. Verstappen remarked to Norris in the post-race cool-down room that the pair had slowed each other down at the start, with Marko unimpressed by the McLaren's driver's defense. Norris pushed Max onto the grass with a maneuver that was more than borderline, he said. Marko conceded that McLaren had the fastest car in Barcelona, with the MCL38 more versatile and its speed more accessible than the RB20 in its current state. He added, "McLaren had the fastest car because we came to the track again on Friday with an unbalanced car and needed until qualifying to make it halfway competitive. You could already see that in the long runs on Friday, when McLaren was clearly faster than us. At the moment, McLaren simply has the car that works with every tire on every track, more or less straight away." Thanks for the support, everyone. See you in the next one.